From an early age, Sandra Clements has been taught to love and appreciate antiques. Today, Sandra has built a successful business based on the knowledge that she has acquired over the years. Sandra will shed light on how you can tell a piece of furniture's particular style.
Most of the trips, when I was a child, we went to upstate New York, and we had a place in New Berlin, New York, where we stayed during the summers and at Christmas. And I would go with my folks during the daytime, and we'd go in old barns and antique shops, and we started working, my dad started working through banks, and we got a lot of trust. You know, when the family gave up and the children weren't going to inherit, we settled the trust for them. So we brought those antiques back to a little store my dad had then, which was a cinder block building about maybe 1,000, 1,200 square feet. And it's, we're now 1 through 6 locations. It's all family. Well, I was very interested in art growing up and going to school, and then I went to the University of Tennessee and majored in art history and interior design. So I had a great appreciation for museums that I'd been throughout growing up. I mean, my parents always took us to the Louvre, and you know, any good city where they had a nice museum, they wanted us to see the art and the accessories and the relics. So at a very young age, I'm talking about from 8 years on, I really got to travel with them, primarily because I was the meanest child and my sisters wouldn't keep me, so I got to go with Mom and Dad everywhere. So I worked at the store when I was 8, and then we progressed and we went into the auction business, where that's when you really see a lot of different merchandise, because you get so many consignments, lots of Italian goods, lots of French goods. And I started getting more and more involved in the arts with the marble sculptures, bronzes. My love was porcelains, so I knew more about porcelains and that type of thing rather than clocks. I love clocks, but I'm not well versed as much as I am in the other fields. Well, primarily, when you started going through the Kings, there's several different opinions as to what changes were made. I think a lot of it was normally, I think that the ladies had a lot to do with it. If they were more petite, then the craftsmen made more petite furniture. You'll see very few massive Louis XV chairs. Most everything was a smaller scale, more delicate. I think that through the ages, you'll see that more in the French furniture. There's slipper chairs, for instance, when the ladies wore the long gowns, to be able to put on your slippers and to raise yourself, you almost had to put a hand on the floor. And the chairs are very, very low compared to our chairs. They did do a lot of furniture that was, made with silver mounts. And you're right, they did melt down a lot, the same as we did when silver went to $80 an ounce. Everybody hawked their silver. And maybe it was the thing to do at the time. But that's the transition. It's the same today, I believe, as it was back then. In the store, I carry a lot of Louis XV and Louis XVI, and several examples of Rococo clock sets. But good French is very difficult to find. There's a lot of, the difference is easily recognized once you become accustomed. You primarily have to turn everything in this business. You have to turn upside down to know if it's old, new, who made it, what the characteristics are. This chair is Louis XV. It's a reproduction, but you can tell with the cabriole leg, the turn legs. It's primary. They did a lot of the bronze work in the Louis XV era. This chair, it's all done in leather. It's a good, representation of a reproduction Louis XV piece. The piece behind me is an antique Louis XV piece. It dates about 1860, not to 1900. It's a little bureau ply lady's desk. One of my best finds, I feel, I have 2 alabaster figures in here that are all carved alabaster that I have located both in Florida. One was out of Tampa. It's the winged woman on the other side of the store that are more than life size on alabaster carved pedestals, and they support globes as lamps. One is winged and one is not winged. The other finds I have are, well, if I found this any day of the week, I would be ecstatic. I have 18th century pieces in burl walnut that are similar to this same design. Lots of them, like in a Queen Anne highboy, which a highboy is all flush on the front with drawers. But many times this section, which is flush, pulls out and you have a hidden secretary drawer. And that would be a wonderful find. I found one not too long ago and sold it. Actually, it's going in a home locally, which is nice to know that a lot of the pieces are staying in the Destin Panhandle area. We did go through the era of wanting new things and, disregard grandma's attic and mom and dad's what we grew up with. I think that people became more appreciative of the arts, perhaps, that everywhere I've been. Even this area is more culture than it certainly was 10 years ago. And I think that people have gained a new appreciation. A lot of it's from television. There's a lot of programs on that tell you about pieces and people didn't have an understanding of. There's some wonderful books out. I think it's like going back to bell bottoms. We grew up with them, discarded them, and we'd like to get in the same ones. We have auctions. I do an auction every month in Chattanooga,